let's get into a flex program. What is that? I'm also going to be providing a very useful link on how to apply in case if you have any questions. And within this video, I'll also share my story, how I applied for the program, how my process went, what challenges I faced, and why it was all worth it. Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and today we're going to be talking about Flex program. This is how I first came to United States. It was my first cultural exchange experience, my first time even traveling so far, and I hope you will enjoy this video. I can talk about cultural exchange programs and Flex program for hours. This is more of a general video. If you have any specific questions, please comment below. The subjects that gets the most comments, I will make a separate video about that. Let's get into a Flex program. What is that? The Flex program is sponsored by the US Department of State. It is a cultural exchange program. It is J1 visa program. When you apply for this program, your full experience will be sponsored by the US government, US Department of State, which is kind of like a Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in the US. And the main purpose of this program is for students in high schools of certain countries that qualify to come to United States to experience real American culture, to study in real American high school, and they basically pay for your trip, and you get a little bit of an allowance, and you get to live with a real host family here in the US. My story began a very long time ago, which gives me an opportunity to talk about this with a little bit of a perspective. About 16 years ago, I was a first-time Flex student. By the way, Flex is an abbreviation for Future Leaders Exchange. And if you are currently studying in high school, this is your opportunity to apply for the program. By the way, enrollment for the program is already open. So from now until October, you can go and follow the link I'm providing below. I'm also going to be providing a very useful link on how to apply in case if you have any questions. And within this video, I'll also share my story, how I applied for the program, how my process went, what challenges I faced, and why it was all worth it. A little bit about myself. I've been on 2 cultural exchange programs, and I also worked for an organization that provides cultural exchange programs and is a US Department of State designated sponsor. Those programs are more of like a commercial, so in case if someone cannot go through the process of selection for Flex program, they can always apply for a commercial academic high school program. And I'm also going to be providing a link below on where you can apply for that program and how much it's going to cost. Obviously, this program is going to be costing you out of your pocket with travel expenses and etc. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about how when I was 16 years old, I was a little teeny girl living in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent, and my grandma one day just came to me and she gave me a piece of paper, basically a cutout from a newspaper, and she said, hey, I found this announcement, take a look. And it didn't have a lot of information. It's not like now that you can go online and just watch a YouTube video. It was just a few sentences about some kind of a test on a national university where you go and you can take it, and then maybe eventually you get to go to the United States. Basically all it said. So I did a little bit of research, I read about it. It was very kind of vague. All I understood is that I have to improve my English super fast. And at that point I was also, a struggling teenager in school. So my main motivation was that I want to get out of there and just go somewhere else and do something bigger, and very ambitious. So if you can relate to some of my struggles, definitely, as they say, from somewhere very dark something good or great comes. This is my situation. I wasn't feeling very good at that point in my high school, so I really pushed and tried hard to study English. Within just like 2 months, I made a huge improvement. Studied pretty much every day from beginner level. I think I got to like maybe intermediate, and then I passed the first test. Overall, my process was super long. It took time from I think the first test was in September, and all the way until past the new year is when we got our final results. It was 4 stages, 2 tests. Some of them included essay questions as well, and also there was an interview, in-person interview. I think out of all stages, the most challenging one was the interview, because by then it's been already so long and I've gone through so many stages, and it was just a lot of anxiety and stress and uncertainty. And also there was a huge part where we had to do a lot of paperwork and fill out the forms related to your health, related to your background, your family history. It was like a stack this thick of information about you that you need to provide, and it all basically has to satisfy the criteria of the program, including, I think there were some of the things that related to health, so I had to go to doctors, get doctor's notes, etc., etc. So the whole process was a few tests plus paperwork plus interview, and then a few months or months later you get the final result. And I still remember how I got the call. It was from a guy called Nate, and he said, "Congratulations." And I couldn't believe. I was jumping on the bed. I was so excited. It was very surreal, obviously, for me and for my family. My dad was against it, and my mom was very supportive. At the end of the day, everyone was very supportive. And closer to the time when we had to leave, I also got a call and an email from my host family. I was placed in Texas in a little tiny town called Farmersville. So if you are applying for the program, make a note that you might be somewhere in a very rural area. You might also be in the big city. You just don't know where you will be placed. I had a friend who lived in New York, but he had a lot of issues with his host family, and he also struggled. So your experience is not defined by where you're placed. It's more of how you approach it and how you look at it, and the more flexible you stay, basically the better your program will be. Then of course there was a J1 visa interview, where they actually gave me my first J1 visa, and I got a ticket for the airplane. And before we left, we had a pre-departure orientation. I honestly am not sure what it looks like right now, but for us it was a 3-day event where alumni came and told us all about their experience, and they told us some of the very basic things, but also some of the very useful things that we're going to face during the program. Again, if you're applying and if you're planning to come, I think it really helps to talk to someone who's been through that experience in person, so you can actually ask some of the questions that are very relevant to you. So always, even if it's someone on social media, and if you know someone, don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions. You can also ask me any questions at any time. After our pre-departure orientation, my departure was in July. I left I think 23rd of July, and when I arrived to Texas, we all had to wear our flex shirts, and we were very well instructed on how to take our flights, how to go on different flights, and I'm not sure with the pandemic what will be the exact process, but there will be help and instructions every step of the way. So please always read all the handbooks you're giving, all the materials you're given. They're all there for a reason. When I came to United States, one of the challenges that I faced, and I can talk about it now, looking at it from the perspective of 16 years, is that I definitely had a culture shock. So my culture shock didn't kick in until 1 month into my program. First month was more of like a honeymoon stage, and then I started missing my family, thinking about my home, thinking about my school and my friends. And back then internet wasn't as developed as it is now, and a lot of people say, oh, I didn't have a culture shock. There are a few indications that you definitely are having a culture shock. Is if you're constantly online with your friends from your home country, if you don't want to get out and explore and learn something new, if you're feeling sad and homesick, if you don't want to communicate your feelings to your host family or your coordinators, etc., then you're probably having a culture shock, and it's totally okay to have it. And I think the best thing to do at that point is to really force yourself, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but really force yourself to go out there and meet new friends, meet new people, record your experience through the lens of a camera, through journaling, blogging, photos, anything that would have you reflecting on your experience. This is definitely worth it. I'm telling you guys right now, I'm looking at my pictures and I'm just so happy that at least there is some kind of proof that I was there, and all of my teachers and all of my classes have at least some proof. So with today's technology, you have a vast opportunity to do that, even just with one phone, right? A little bit about my actual experience in the US. So once again, I was in Texas in a little town called Farmersville. My host family was husband and wife. They had a little 5-year-old kid, and I also had a host sister who later left to study in as a Marine Corps, which is like a military division here in the US. And it was very good for me to connect with my host family. I still keep in touch, and I think that they were very nice, they were very friendly. They taught me a lot of things about US history, about how things are viewed from their perspective, about the importance of things that we don't really know about, like, religion, politics, infrastructure, and they actually took the time to explain so many things to me, and I'm very, very grateful. My high school was probably the most remembered part of the whole experience. Obviously, the high school in US is so much different from high school that we had in Uzbekistan. The classes that I took were so interesting. I took classes on subjects that I didn't have any idea about, such as journalism, photojournalism, theater arts, drama classes, US history class. Math classes were a lot easier for me in the US than they were in my home country, also because of how they were taught. I think one of the most challenges classes for me was US history, because I knew so little about it, and the language in which the book was written was very difficult. But my teacher, he was also a basketball coach, which is very often here in US. He was very patient, and he always helped me understand things. And at the beginning of the year, I started with kind of a lower grades, and at the end I was able to pull through, and I had all A's for all of my classes. In addition, I participated in extracurricular activities. I was in drama club, and I actually played in a play called Alice in Wonderland. I played the Queen of Hearts because of my thick Russian accent, and that was kind of like an evil character. And it was a lot of fun to perform in front of little kids, in front of adults in the theater. It gave me a lot of confidence in speaking a foreign language, in acting, and how I later could kind of hold myself in my workplace. And it gave me very, very critical skills for my future career. Also, one of the things that really helped during the program is participating in some of the things, some of the contests and other opportunities that are presented to you by your US sponsor or by the Department of State. I participated in every one of them, whether it's writing an essay, submitting a video, sending a photo. It wasn't just for me to be able to win. There was a money prize, there was a trip prize, there was like a Christmas contest, I believe. Also, there was also volunteering contest. I submitted my application everywhere, just to keep me motivated throughout the program too. It really helped, and it gave me an opportunity to express and write my story and send it. To be completely honest, I didn't win any of those contests, even though I did volunteer in a daycare in US. I also wrote a Christmas essay, and still I was able to express myself, and that was great. One of the highlights of my experience was also going to New York. It was a trip organized by my high school. It was a field trip with my journalism class, where I got to attend a convention in Columbia University in New York on journalism. This was extremely inspiring. When I was in New York, I felt like it was a whole different world. I was like you see in the movies, like a little girl first time in New York. I thought that really this is the city where you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. I fell in love. And to be honest with you, I was very tempted to even stay there illegally, but I'm so happy that God gave me enough brains not to do anything stupid, because that would have caused me so many problems and my whole future wouldn't be the same. Instead, doing everything the right way, maybe longer, but much more gratifying, and I feel like I've done the right thing by not following that momentary call. And that convention was sponsored by me, because I was able to do a lot of fundraising, and I was able to save money from my allowance and go on this trip. One of the highlights was my high school prom, where I also saved up every month to be able to afford my prom dress. I gained a lot of weight after I returned home. My mom was actually wearing that dress, but it was definitely like in the movies. It was an experience like in the movies. And I rode a high school yellow bus, of course, and all of the staple high school things that you see in the movies. I went through that. Not all of them are true. There are a lot less. I feel like there was a lot less bullying and violence, and a lot more compassion and empathy and understanding of a cultural exchange student. And if you ever experience problems, if you're feeling bad, definitely don't hold it inside. Reach out to someone and they will be able to help. Last question that I wanted to answer is why you should definitely consider going on a program, and what happened to me as an aftermath. So first, what happened to me when I returned home. First thing that a lot of people experience, and maybe you will experience too, is the reverse culture shock. So you've been to United States, you've been exposed to the super open democratic culture, and then you return home and a lot of things will give you a different kind of culture shock, like a reverse culture shock, like things you are not used to now after living a year in the US will seem to you like weird, and maybe you will start saying, oh, like they don't do it like that in US, or us versus them, and things like that might be very annoying for someone from your country, like your friends and family. So be aware of that and be a little more sensitive and open to the fact that you've had your experience and you returned and things are very different in the culture you came from. Both deserve equal amount of respect. Be mindful of how you present yourself. I was told later that I acted a little bit, how to say it, they say I had a star sickness. I don't know what that means. After I returned, I applied for international university, and it was a business school. I graduated my business school bachelor degree, and I was hired by a big multinational corporation back at home. I later applied for another program called internship, but it's a completely different story that I will tell you about in a different video. I think that the program really helped me grow from this girl who was afraid to speak in public, who was super closed, who was maybe living in a very in a society, in a Muslim country, where I was kind of programmed to be someone else completely. And then I became more confident, much more like I had a global vision of the world. My dreams were much bigger, my ambitions were much bigger. I gained confidence speaking to people face to face, looking them in the eye, expressing my opinions, standing for my beliefs. But most importantly, I was able to break the stereotypes and understand that if you have a point of view, it's not always the ultimate truth. Someone else living somewhere might have a different opinion, and everyone deserves